Hello students, so let us continue with the chapter 4 Landscape of the Soul by Nathalie Trouvroy. So in my last video I explained 4 paragraphs of this chapter, and in today's video I will summarize what I explained in my last video, and I will also explain the rest part of the chapter, and question answers will also be discussed. Okay, so as we know that, as we have discussed in the last video, this is very beautiful chapters. In this the author tells us difference between two paintings, a Chinese painting and a European painting. So a Chinese painting, in Chinese painting, painters give freedom to viewers. Viewer can enter the painting from any angle. Okay, so viewer is free to enter the painting from any angle, while in European painting it is not like that. Okay, so let us continue with beautiful chapter. So first I am going to summarize what I explained in my last video. In this chapter, the writer contrasts two forms of art, Chinese art and European art, by using two different stories. In China, during the 8th century, the Tang Emperor Yunzhong commissioned a painter, Wu Daozi, to decorate a wall in the palace. Upon seeing the wall painting, the emperor started noticing the outer appearance of the painting, but the painter drew his attention to a cave at the foot of the mountain. The painter told the emperor that he would take him inside. The painter entered the cave and the entrance closed behind him. As soon as the painter clapped his hand, the painting on the wall was gone, and so the painter also. They both disappeared. In another story, a painter wouldn't draw an eye of a dragon, as he feared that the dragon would fly out of the painting. In another story, to represent a European art form, a master blacksmith falls in love with a painter's daughter. The father didn't approve of him because of his profession. The blacksmith sneaked into his painting studio and painted a fly on the painter's latest panel. The fly seemed so real that the painter tried to hit it first before realizing it was in the painting. The painter accepted him as a trainee in his studio. The blacksmith married the painter's daughter and later became one of the famous painters of his time. So these stories revealed as to how art form is believed to be followed into different regions in the world. Okay, so in Europe, in European painting, an artist wants to viewer to see a real viewpoint by borrowing his eyes. The art must be perfect and must be illusion likeness, whereas in China the artist doesn't paint a real one but uses his inner and spiritual voice to create an abstract piece. The viewer can enter the painting from any point and can travel according to his imagination. The artist wants the viewer to enter his mind and create a path of its own. The artist wants the viewer to enter the painting from any angle. Okay, so now let us continue with the chapter. The landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space. So the landscape, which was drawn by Chinese artist, so the author calls it an inner one. It is an inner an art which shows an inner quality, a spiritual and conceptual space. Conceptual space means relation with an abstract representation. So this painting, this landscape, which was drawn by a Chinese painter, which was painted by a Chinese painter, it reflects, it shows an inner one, and inner soul. Okay, and it gives an opportunity to viewers to imagine, to enter the painting according to what he or she thinks about the painting. So he and she has a freedom, okay, and a spiritual and conceptual space, and it also gives a relation with an abstract representation. So the landscape is the painting which has been drawn by a Chinese painter in this story. Okay, the concept is expressed as shan shui, literally mount water, which used together represent the word landscape. The concept is expressed in shan shui. Shan shui means mount water. So the concept is expressed as shan shui. So the landscape which was painted by a Chinese painter, the landscape has been expressed as shan shui, so which mean mount water, which used together represent the word landscape. In landscape, you can see both mountain and river. Okay, so shan shui means this river, this mountain, water. So this landscape expresses the both here, mountain and this water. So landscape includes the mountains and water of the river. The concept is expressed as shan shui, literally mount water, which used together represent the word landscape. More than two elements of an image, these represent two contemporary poles reflecting the Daoist. Daoist means a Chinese philosophy based on writings of Lao Tzu. Okay, so it's a philosophy of Lao Tzu, and Daoist was a Chinese philosophy which was based on this writing. View of the universe. The mountain is young, reaching vertically towards heaven, stable, warm and dry in the sun, while the water is yin. Yes, this is very important to note that in this story, yan. Okay, so the mountain is yan, so the mountain is called here yan, reaching vertically towards heaven, stable, warm and dry in the sun, while the water is yin, and water is called in. The mountain, these high mountains, they are known as yan. okay, and the water, the river, the water which flows under the mountain, it is called in, okay. Horizontal and resting on the earth, fluid, moist and cool, interaction of in the respective feminine aspect of universe energy and its counterpart yang, active and masculine, is of course a fundamental notion of Taoism. What is often overlooked is an essential third element. So here one more thing you have to notice here. The high mountain, they are represented, they have been represented with the term yan, and while the water in river has been represented, here you can see in, horizontal and resting on the earth, fluid, moist and cool. So it represents water, so which is yin. The interaction of yin, the respective feminine aspects, universal energy. So in here expresses feminine aspects of universal energy and its counterpart yang, and in its opposite yang, it shows it represents active masculine. So in represent feminine while yang represent masculine. Of course, a fundamental notion of Taoism. It is Taoism. This concept of yan and yin is called Taoism. What is often overlooked, an essential third element, the middle void. First element yan and second element yin, and the third element which is overlooked is void, middle void. You know, middle void means, you know, students, this is mountain, this is river. So between mountain and river, this space between mountain and river, the space which is found, that is middle void. So the third element is middle void. It is middle void. So the third essential element is middle void, okay, which is overlooked. Where their interaction takes place, where the interaction of yin and yang, where the interaction of mountain, large high mountain, interaction of mountain, okay, and river takes place. So that place is called middle void. Void means also empty, okay. So where their interaction takes place. So this can be compared with the yogic practice of pranayam, breathe in, retain, breathe out, the suspension of practice of suspension of breath is void, where meditation occurs. So here the author compares this yin, yang and middle void with pranayam, with yoga. So this can be compared with the yogic. This yin, yang and this middle void can be compared with the practice of pranayam, breathe in, retain, breathe out, the suspension of breathe is void. So here the writer says the suspension of breathe is void, empty, vacant. Void means where meditation occurs, where meditation takes place. The middle void is essential, yes, and this middle voice, this, you know, middle void is the interaction place of yin and yang, interaction place of river and mountain. So this is very important, okay. So in the same way, in yogic practice also, this void, this empty, this vacant place is very important. So here the gap between breathe and breathe out, that is void. So during yogic practice of pranayam, breathe in, retain, breathe out. So first we breathe in, then we retain, okay, then we hold, we breathe in, we hold it, and then we breathe out. So this retaining process is called here void. Okay, so this is very important in meditation also. The middle void is essential, nothing can happen without it. So without middle void, nothing can happen. Okay, hence the importance of white unpainted space in Chinese landscape. So in the same ways, the white and unpainted space in Chinese landscape is very important. Without that space, a viewer cannot imagine, a viewer cannot enter the painting from any angle. So that void place, that middle void place is in the same way that empty place in Chinese painting, in Chinese landscape, in Chinese landscape is very important, in which a Chinese painter leaves spaces so that a viewer can enter from any space. A Chinese painter gives the viewers free so that they can enter from any space provided in the painting. So now here the poet compares this Chinese landscape with the pranayam, where we breathe in, we breathe out, and we retain. In the same way, in Chinese painting, there is mountain, river, and mountain is yang, while river is yin. Okay, and this space, this empty space between river and mountain, it is called void. It is called void, middle void. So here the narrator compare this mountain to when we breathe in, that is mountain, we retain, that is void, and when we breathe out, that is river. So in the same way, during pranayam, this void is very important. So in the same way, it is also important in Chinese landscape. In the Chinese landscape, void is empty spaces where the painters provide empty space, okay, from where viewer can enter the painting. So that void space is very important in the Chinese painting. Okay, now look at the last paragraph. This is also where man finds a fundamental role in that space between. Let me explain the above paragraph once more. Okay, in this paragraph, once again, because this paragraph is very important, it gives us a very important message. So that's why I think I should once again repeat this paragraph. So the Chinese concept of art is also expressed as shan shui, which also means mountain water. It is used together to represent the word landscape. So the two contemporary poles of an image, contemporary contrast ideas, reflect the Taoist view. The mountain in the landscape is yang, which means to reach vertically towards heaven, stable, warm, and dry in the sun, whereas the water is the yin, okay, which is respective and feminine aspect of universe energy. The yang is active and masculine and opposite of yin. So there is a third essential element, which is the middle void. which is the place where they interact. The middle void can be compared to pranayam, which means to breathe in, retain and breathe out. Here the suspension of the breath is the void in the meditation process. So it is an essential part, as nothing can happen without it. Hence the white unpainted space in Chinese landscape is equally important. This is also where man finds a fundamental role. In that space between heaven and earth, he becomes the conduit. Conduit means, channel, tube of communication between both poles of the universe. His presence is essential, even if it's only suggested far from being lost or oppressed. Oppressed means, burdened or worried by the lofty means, tall or high peaks. He is a Francois Cheng's powerful expression. So Francois Cheng's, according to Francois Cheng's, the eye of landscape. So the man is the eye of landscape according to him. So the man is the eye of this landscape. Okay, so let me explain the whole paragraph. The middle void is where a man finds an important role. Man is the channel of communication in the space between heaven and earth. Man, is a channel of communication in the space between heaven and earth, and which are two poles of universe. So man's presence is essential. It is being lost or suppressed due to high peaks, but is the eye of landscape. So according to Francois Cheng's expression, so the man is the eye of the landscape. So this way, with the help of Chinese and European paintings, so the author tells us how important role a man plays between mountain and river. So a painting of landscape which has been drawn by a Chinese painter, so it also provides space for man. That is why a Chinese painter leaves the spaces so that a man can enter from any angle. So without man, this universe is not complete. So that is why a Chinese painter does not want the viewers to borrow his eyes. A Chinese painter wants the viewers to use their own mind to enter the painting, because a Chinese painter wants to show us the importance of a man in this universe, in this the painting of the landscape, so which the author mentions in the chapter, the painting of landscapes which was made by a Chinese painter. So Chinese painter gives space to human beings. Okay, so without them, this universe, this landscape is incomplete. So this way the author compares a Chinese painting and a European painting beautifully. Okay, so now let us discuss question answer of this chapter. Contrast the Chinese view of art with the European view with examples. So as we have discussed in the text many times, the Chinese form of art is based on imagination and shows inner and spiritual approach of the artist, whereas the European art form is real and reproduces an actual view of the object from the landscape. Okay. Explain the concept of Shan Shui. So, as we have just read this paragraph, Shan Shui is a Chinese concept of art, which means mountain water. It is used, together to represent the word landscape. So, the two contemporary poles, yin and yang, of a image reflect the Taoist, Taoist view. What do you understand by the terms outsider art and art brut or raw art? What do you understand by them? So, outsider art is the art made by, untrained artists. For example, children or mentally ill person. Art brut or raw art is a type of art made by people who are not professionals, but they create an art piece with their own depths and understanding, and not form the stereotypical form of classical or fashionable art. So, who was the untutored genius who created a paradise, and what is the nature of his contribution? So, if you read the another story which is given in the chapter, so please go through the story, and you must reveal many facts about painting, in which difference between two paintings, difference between two painters have been given. A painter which is outsider and a painter which is learned painter, tutored painter. So you will get to know about that. So you must go through that story about painting which has been given in this chapter. Okay. So untutored genius who created a paradise was Nek Chand. The story of Nek Chand is given in that extract. So please go through that. He was an 80 years old creator, director who made the world famous rock garden in Chandigarh. He used everything from a tin to sink or anything which he left as an art form. So one of his famous creation are women by the waterfall. So more you can get to know about Nek Chand and about his painting. So you can search on internet also about him. Now thinking about the text, discuss the emperor may rule over the territory he has conquered, but the only artist knows the way within. This is very important question. So the statement means that the emperor rules over the territory which he has conquered and have the power, but the artist knows the path and mysterious work of the universe. The artist can go beyond the materialistic appearance of objects. No matter how powerful the emperor was, the artist's true art form can be seen the way he wants to show them, as you have seen in the story. Discuss the landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space. So the statement the landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space means that a Chinese artist wants the viewer to enter his mind rather than borrowing his eyes to view his art piece. This requires both physical and mental participation. A viewer can enter the painting from any point and travel from one point to another point, as it is not a real one. It is an inner spiritual and abstract space of the artist. Okay, so thinking about the language, so find out the correlates of yin and yang in other cultures. So now you should go through internet to find out answers to these two questions. What is the language spoken in Flanders? So you can search on internet about this question. So this is all about the chapter. So in my next video I will start the next chapter, chapter 5, the alien planet. Thank you for watching.